This is the greatest that humanity has ever been. So if you read a lot of blog posts and watch TED Talks and other videos on YouTube, then you've probably heard people saying that we pretty much suck right now. We're the most obese we ever were. We're the laziest we ever were. We have short attention spans. Millennials are ruining everything, etc. We sit all day at work and it damages our spine. We're in dark rooms, dingy rooms, which means we aren't getting enough vitamin D. We stare at computers all day, which upsets our body clock and damages our eyes. And we don't exercise enough because we don't have any need to, and we drive everywhere. We're just these lazy, fat, useless people, and it's no wonder we're all depressed and we're all stressed and we're all ill all the time. We're getting more diseases than ever before, Alzheimer's, cancer, everything. We're the worst we've ever been. If you believe the zeitgeist, then we're the worst we've ever been. I'd like to put forward a counter argument and suggest that we are the best we've ever been, and we're only going to keep getting better. So yeah, obviously all those things are kind of true. We do sit a lot and it damages our spines. We don't squat like we're supposed to. We don't spend enough time outside like we're supposed to. We eat a whole bunch of processed food, etc. I get it. There's a lot that we could definitely improve, but I think we shouldn't focus entirely on these negatives. Firstly, they're not all completely accurate. For instance, the fact that we sit too close to the screen, that damages our eyes, there's no actual evidence to suggest that. There's a correlation between people sitting close to TVs and having bad eyesight, but people now think that's probably just because when you have bad eyesight, you sit closer to the television so you can see it. But also a lot of these other things that are so bad for us also have positive sides to them. For instance, driving. Sure, we drive everywhere, that's lazy and it's damaging the planet. Not great. However, driving is a fantastic thing for our brains and just for expanding our minds. Think about it. We're driving super fast in this vehicle. We have to stay so attentive to what's going on the road. We have to be completely focused. We have to react quickly. We've imprinted in our muscle memory how to use the gear stick, how to indicate to other people. And as we drive, we're laying down maps, huger, much broader areas than we ever would have done before. So we know that taxi drivers have particularly heavy developed brains, specifically in the regions relating to the routes they have to learn, especially London drivers. I think they have to learn this thing called the knowledge, which is all of these back roads and things that allows them to get around quickly. And that increases the size and the weight of their brain because they're learning so much information, and brain plasticity tells us that when you learn new information, you build new connections in your brain. But we're all doing this. It used to be that we would just walk around in a tiny, small community. But now we drive huge distances on a regular basis. We've mapped out so much more of the earth. And not just our own area. Many of us have lived in different places. I've lived in 3, 4, 5 cities, I can't remember even. Doesn't really matter. The point is, we travel all around now, and that's incredibly good for our brains. And the fact that we're driving is incredibly good for our brains. I mean, I've talked about in the past how we should really be out there hunting, tracking prey, etc., because that uses all the skills that our brains and bodies are designed for us to use. Things like attention, being in a flow state, being aware, but we do that as well when we're driving. Likewise, when we play computer games are fantastic for your brain. You hear so much about how computer games are bad for you, how they're bad for your health because you're just sitting down, not doing anything, how they're bad for your eyes, like I said, which isn't actually true, how they're bad for your violent tendencies and nature. In fact, computer games are brilliant brain training. They've been shown to improve your ability to distinguish between light shades of grey. They improve your visual acuity because you're scanning for objects on the horizon. They've been shown to improve your decision making under pressure to help you make faster decisions, better decisions. They've been shown to improve your memory, your spatial awareness, even increase lucid dreaming. Computer games are learning, that's why they're addictive. They press all the buttons that our brain wants, causing that dopamine release. When we play a computer game like a shooter or something, we're almost always in a kind of flow state. When was the last time you were shooting aliens in whichever game and you noticed your mind wandering, thinking, oh, I wonder what I'm going to have for tea? It doesn't happen. We're very focused when we do that. It's almost meditative, which is fantastic. And now the internet, because this is something else that gets a lot of bad press. The internet is ruining our attention spans, it's rotting our brains, it's causing us to become stupid and lazy, and all we like is cat videos. But actually the internet is also fantastic for our brains because we've finally got access to all the world's information at the press of a button. We're so much more knowledgeable, so much wiser, so much more worldly than we would have been before the internet. We can answer any question, we can pursue any interest. We watch things on YouTube and we read blog posts that we never would have done before. I've learned so much from TED. I've learned so much from brainpickings.org, from Nerdwriter, from other fantastic YouTube channels like those ones, like What I've Learned. All of this stuff is It's fantastic, and we're just filling our brains with all this information that we never would have done before. For the first time, most of us are polymaths. Anyone who's got the interest can go out there and absorb all this information that we would never have done before. And at the same time, we're communicating with people all around the world, people so different from us. And this, again, it expands our brains. It creates more neural connections. Social interactions create more neural connections. This is a great way to fend off something like Alzheimer's. If you are old and disabled, you can't move around, then give someone an iPad, let them chat in a forum. That's going to do wonders for improving their cognitive performance as they age. And it's going to help us to broaden our mind and to be less judgmental, less prejudiced. And when you bring in foreign ideas, when you get a mixing pot of different ideas, different cultures, that's when you have incredible new ideas and new discoveries. And instead of just being insular and becoming more and more extreme in your one viewpoint, when you open your mind and accept other viewpoints, that's when A, you break down a lot of the barriers of prejudice, etc., but B, you just create entirely new possibilities that you were blind to before. This is how creativity works in the brain. Creativity as well is supposed to be, ideation is supposed to be greatly helped by communicating with other people. These collaborative tools that let us work online with people all around the world, they're incredible. I work for AndroidAuthority.com, as many of you know, and we work remotely. All of us are located in different places around the world. We use tools like Slack, like Asana, and using these, we can work with each other anywhere in the world at any time, crossing different time zones. That's fantastic. That births ideas that just couldn't have happened otherwise because we're bridging that gap. And yes, whilst being able to get all that information very quickly could shorten your attention span, we might be not as good at sitting down and reading a long passage of text, a long book, but back then that's all they had. We have access to information now, and whilst we're worse, perhaps, at holding our attention, although I would say things like driving, like computer games, mitigate this somewhat, the ability to scan for information has improved, and the ability to quickly grab information from elsewhere has improved. We're all polymaths now. We're all pursuing different interests. We're all expanding our minds with new information. That's incredible. So how are we the worst we've ever been? How are we so dumb and lazy when actually a lot of the stuff we're reading, a lot of stuff we're watching is really expanding our minds? Think of the kind of things that people are capable of these days, from creating videos to making apps and games to speaking multiple languages to doing incredible arts and crafts to doing mechanical engineering on their own cars because they got the information online, to building electronics projects, to traveling the world, to climbing mountains, all these things. And so many people are not just good at one of these things, but multiple things. You get people who are fantastic at drawing and painting, but also amazing at composing professional music that they sell online, or taking stunning photography that's professional standard. They do this in their spare time. Like I say, more and more people today should classify as true polymaths. And as for our health, as for the fact that we're apparently lazy and we're apparently eating badly, sure, maybe a lot of us eat a lot of processed foods that we shouldn't be, but we also, most of us, are supplementing with different things to improve our health. We're making more mindful, more conscious decisions about these things, so we're seeking out foods that we know have got more nutritional value, a lot of us. Very few people are completely blind to all this. Most of us now have more information about our health than we ever did before. Part of the reason we seem so unhealthy is because we're now aware of the fact that we have been doing things that are bad for us. So go back 20, 30, 40, 50 years, then you can say we're unhealthy when we're smoking, when we don't realize that eating processed sausages is not quite as healthy as eating, nice lean chicken and a few eggs. Of course, you don't need me to tell you that we're living longer than ever before, that we're able to treat more diseases than ever before. If you think that we're unhealthy now, then try going back to a time when you'd have to have a limb removed without anaesthetic and without antibiotics. Try going back to a time when we drank beer instead of water because the water was so polluted. There's a theory, in fact, that the Enlightenment happened because we switched from drinking beer to drinking tea. And so instead of drinking alcohol all the time, we were drinking caffeine. Now imagine what can happen when we introduce safe and natural nootropics and start consuming those instead of things that are making us less healthy. Things are amazing now, they're only going to get much better. Today, we're improving our health. We have much more information than we did before on our diet, and many of us are seeking out better ways of eating that better suit us. At the same time, we're doing the same thing for exercise. Yeah, we're sitting, that's bad, but we've always sat. We now realize that we shouldn't be sitting, and we're getting more active. And meanwhile, we're finding new ways to train. We're learning more about mobility, more about strength, more about muscle fiber recruitment, and all of this is allowing many of us to train like athletes. Look at old sports competitions, look at old-time strongmen, look at old records. We're smashing them all the time with all this new information, and we're getting to the point now. I mean, it wasn't that long ago when nobody really worked out. Arnold Schwarzenegger and those classic early bodybuilders helped to break fitness like this into the mainstream. And sure, maybe the way we train has changed a bit, but before that, many of us weren't doing much at all. Now, most of us have some kind of health/training regiment, and this is helping us to all be fitter. And many of us, if we were to compete with athletes from bygone eras, we wouldn't do that badly. Many of us are more toned, faster, stronger, and the ones that aren't, or at least aware that they aren't, and they know what they need to do to fix it. Oh, and here's something else to think about. When people say that we're not functional anymore, or we're not adaptive, that we've lost our basic human movements, consider this, that the body is designed to adapt to the stimulus you give it. It's designed to thrive on the food it's given. It's designed to adapt and become physically better at whatever it is you do. So when you say you're not functional anymore because you can't squat down to the floor whilst lifting a heavy log over your head, consider that you are functional, just for something different. We don't do that anymore. We spend a lot of time sitting at the desk, and our bodies have adapted. We're functional for sitting at a desk. And obviously, I'm not saying that's perfect, and perhaps you'd like to be better at performance and stronger and more flexible, etc. All great stuff. But we're not non-functional. Our bodies are amazing. They adapt to what we do most often. Whatever you do most often, your body becomes better at doing that. So whatever your lifestyle is right now, your body is adapted, it's functional for doing that thing. At the same time, sports are fantastic for our health. Again, we're using our brain. Sports requires you to be switched on, focused, in a flow state, aware of where everyone is on the pitch. They force you to be constantly moving, running, interacting with other people, jumping, kicking. Most of us play some kind of sport or dance or something. Dance is fantastic for you. You're learning entirely new movement patterns constantly. Things like yoga are fantastic for your flexibility. There's so many options out there, and we're healthier and stronger. We're not just polymaths of the mind. Many of us are polymaths of the body, pursuing different health exercises. We've got all this information online, again, that we can follow. If you think, oh, I'd like to start yoga, sure, you could go to a yoga class. You could also just load it up on TV, on YouTube, and then do a session. And all of this is only going to get better as well. And sure, we've had some setbacks in recent times, some steps backwards, but on the whole, we're still moving in the right direction. It's only going to get better with time. Imagine what virtual reality will be able to do, given time for our fitness, for our brain training. Imagine how much better our health will be, given time as we start to introduce new rules. Imagine how much more active we'll be as we start to realize the importance of that. And as we start to integrate many of the things that we're learning now about meditation, about flow states, about things like the Wim Hof method. When you bring all of that together, you can be healthier and stronger than ever before, and more intelligent, more switched on, and in greater flow. Just watch one of those people are awesome videos. If you need more evidence that, well, people are awesome right now, just watch anyone who's fantastic at parkour, or who uploads a video of their martial arts tricking, and tell me that we're not healthy, at least some of us, that we're not healthier and performing probably better than we ever have done in history. It's awesome. Health, diet will improve, supplementation will improve, medicine will improve. Transhumanism is probably just around the corner, and whilst that could have some bad implications, it might also have some amazing ones. So we're only going to go up from here, we're only going to improve from here. And sure, I have ignored a lot of negative things, and I know I've been very optimistic here, but that's kind of the point. I just wanted to put out there a slightly more positive spin on everything and say, hey, we're not doing so bad. You're probably not so bad, I'm not so bad. We're all doing pretty good actually, and depending on which corners of the internet you look, I'd say there's a lot of hope out there. So well done, and let's look forward to a brighter future. So I hope you found this video useful and interesting, a little bit different. If you did, then please leave a like down below. Please comment, I'd love to know what you think on this topic. Are we better than ever before, or are we worse? Or are there at least some things that are better that maybe get downplayed because, well, it's trendy to spread bad news, isn't it? Bad news is what people want to read, apparently. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and stay tuned for more videos on these sorts of topics, whether that's fitness, training, transhumanism, nootropics, learning, etc., productivity, technology. If that sounds good, then thanks a ton for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Is there anyone out here? Do you know what you're fighting for? Is there anyone out here?